In this week's video, I want to talk about 5 locations I'd recommend to anyone visiting Seoul, South Korea. I've been to the city of Seoul twice so far, and I've fallen in love with the city for so many different reasons. From the multiple locations you can view the beautiful cityscapes from, to the multiple areas you can just walk around and get lost doing street photography. This will mostly be a video for photographers out there curious about locations they can get in the city of Seoul. But make no mistake, you can definitely visit these places even if you aren't a photographer. So feel free to continue watching and please enjoy the video. Getting to the first location, the Namsan Tower. The Namsan Tower is widely recognized as one of the iconic landscapes in Seoul, so any chance to photograph this is a must in my opinion. Related to the Namsan Tower is the Namsan Tower Park. The park is a pretty steep hike, but there are stairs, so don't worry about needing any hiking shoes in particular. Though there are various ways to get to the top, so don't feel the need to have to take the stairs if you don't want to. Try other routes if you're feeling adventurous. On top of the Namsan Tower Park, near the actual tower itself, is a location that's very famous where couples can buy a locket and write a message for themselves and lock their own locket on an empty section along the railings. This can definitely make for interesting photos and compositions, and also just an interesting place to visit as well, as I don't think I've seen anything like this before elsewhere. So it's always fun to stroll around through whenever I'm in the area. And finally, you can see the Namsan Tower up close in its full glory. You can definitely still take pictures of the Namsan Tower even from up close. Just make sure you bring a lens on the wider end of the spectrum. You should be fine with at least a 24mm lens. So if all you have is a 24-70, you should be fine. Now getting to the time to visit the Namsan Tower Park, the quietest time to visit is definitely sunrise. I went there for sunrise my second morning in Seoul this past trip because my jet lag just wouldn't let me sleep. So I thought, man, why not just go for a hike, you know? My Airbnb was only a 30-minute walk or so anyways from the top of the park. It was a very calming hike as well as barely anyone there. But for anyone wanting sunrise photos of the tower, there are 2 things to know. The first is a section of the park, like the balcony, where you can see the majestic view of the city, is closed, unfortunately. So you can't access that part until it opens at 10 a.m. The second is the sunrise itself. The sun is actually blocked by some trees up at the top of the park. So for me personally, when I went in mid-October, I wasn't able to see the actual sunrise. But it could be different for you depending on the time of the year you go and actually go to the sunrise at the Namsan Tower Park. So just keep that in mind. But getting back to my situation during sunrise when I was at the top of the Namsan Tower Park, I personally couldn't find any compositions I liked at sunrise. It wasn't until the sun peaked out a little while later into golden hour when I was finally able to get some photos I liked. For sunset, the story is quite different as the park can be pretty hectic and very chaotic, especially on a weekend. When I went to the top of the park for sunset, it was a Sunday evening and it was quite packed. Though it was well worth it as the view was amazing and Mother Nature really put on a show for sunset. Initially, I thought the amount of people would get in the way of my photos, but I actually like capturing the crowd on my photos and using them in my compositions. So if you want to capture sunset here, don't worry too much about the crowd and just make the best of the situation that you're in. The next location is one of my favorite hikes in Seoul, so it's not a surprise why I'd recommend it here in this video. The views at the top are amazing, and it's one of the few, if not the only place I know in Seoul where you can see both the Namsan Tower, the tower I just spoke about, and the Lotte World Tower, the tallest tower in South Korea and another iconic landmark in Seoul, in one frame. And don't worry about whether or not you need to worry about going through a treacherous or painstaking hike just to get there. You can actually just get to a location via bus, plus a 20-minute or 30-minute hike or so. The hardest part is ensuring you get on the right bus to get there, so I'll help you with that. To get there, take the train to Sansong Station. There are a couple of buses that will get you there, such as the Bus 91 or the Bus 53. I believe I took Bus 53 when I went because I couldn't find the 91 bus to save my life. But either one will really do, so it doesn't really matter in the end. Since Apple Maps doesn't really work in Korea, I highly recommend anyone traveling to South Korea to download Naver apps. It's a bit wonky to use if you're used to Google Maps or Apple Maps, but helps you get from point A to point B, and is very accurate. So it's much more useful than the others in South Korea. Once you get on the bus, get off at the Namhan Sansong bus stop, right next to the Namhan Sansong Traditional Park. Even if you're only interested in getting sunset shots of the Lotte World Tower and the Namsan Tower, I would still highly recommend you get there well in advance. There are 2 reasons why. The first reason is you want to ideally get to the location to secure your spot, as the area is quite popular. When I went on a random Friday, there were still around 10 people or so in the area. I can't even imagine how many people are there on the weekends or when there's clouds in the sky and the sunset pops off. The second reason is the surrounding area is very nice and fun to explore, especially in the fall with the autumn leaves. You can definitely spend a couple of hours exploring, whether that's getting photos of the surrounding area or exploring some of the other shops there. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do much of that as I got there at around 3 p.m. or so, and since the sun set pretty early then, I only really got an hour or so to really explore. So I'm definitely looking forward to exploring more the next time I go. After you're done exploring and ready to start your hike, make your way towards the Namhan Sansong West Gate. You can basically just follow the road that leads upwards and you'll eventually reach the West Gate in about 20 or 30 minutes. The roads are quite steep to climb, so it may take longer if you plan on resting a couple of times throughout the actual hike. Other than that though, it's a pretty easy hike that involves no dirt at all, just road. You'll know you're almost to the west gate when you pass by a Buddhist temple. Once you get to the west gate, you can make your way up the staircase, going up towards the top floor of the gate. Just follow your pathway towards your right, and when you get to the top, you'll be in awe at what you'll see. Diving more into the photography topic of this location, for gear, I brought my tripod, my 85mm Zeiss Batis lens, and my 24-70 GM2, as I wasn't sure if the 70mm would be enough, and I'm glad I did. My Zeiss 85mm isn't too big, so it wasn't a pain or anything to bring, and it was enough for me to get the composition I wanted, though my favorite picture from the shoot ended up being at 35mm with the golden light shining on the trees in the foreground. For me, I definitely recommend bringing a 24-70 zoom, especially if it's your first time there. If you don't have a lens that's more telephoto than a 70mm, that's alright, as you can just crop in a bit in post. Lastly, even after the sun sets, I highly advise you to stay until night falls, as you can capture some beautiful night cityscapes of Seoul. If you're going to stay until night in the fall time though, or even past fall time and probably even winter time, please bring a good jacket. I only had a light jacket on me and I felt like I was actually dying from being so cold. It didn't help that particular evening was also windy as hell. Achesan is another hike I would definitely recommend to people visiting Seoul. There's not really a location here that's a famous shot like the Namhan Samsung hike, but there are many areas throughout the hike that have spots where you can get a beautiful scenic view of the cityscape of Seoul, which is why again, I advise anyone that wants to hike Achesan to get there early enough before sunset to give your time to comfortably hike through the trail and take in the views or to see what type of photos you can get. For the directions to get there, they're pretty straightforward. Take the train and get off at the Achesan station and make your way towards Achesan itself. There are multiple entrances to get there and you'll be able to get to the top of the hike through them all. But I found the easiest way to get to the top is through the Achesan recreation area entrance. This is actually the way I came down from, as when I hiked up, I took a totally different path and it ended up taking me quite a while to get to the top of the correct trail. Through the Achesan recreation area entrance, you can just follow the signs to the Achesan mountaintop. And from there, that should be able to get you on the right trail to eventually lead you to the mountaintop. The whole hike itself took me around an hour or so to get to the very top. And that's with me stopping a bunch of times midway throughout the hike and getting a bunch of photos along the way, as well as me getting lost, but you know, that's a different story. Like I mentioned a bit earlier, there isn't a location in the hike that is famous like Namhan Samsung, but you can find many areas throughout the hike where you can get photos, like the pavilion in the middle of the hike with great views of the Lotte World Tower, or the area in the middle of the hike with a balcony type setup that lets you rest for a bit while at the same time taking in another beautiful scenic view of the landscape with the Lotte World Tower on your left and the Namsan Tower on your right. One more area I highly recommend photographing is one a bit deeper into the hike. It's actually a mini kind of balcony with a great view of the Namsan Tower and the surrounding areas around it. Once again with this hike, you can stay past sunset and get some nice night cityscapes, as well as enjoy the Lotte World Tower and enjoy the lovely light display show sort of thing. Gear-wise with this location, I basically brought the same lens setup plus tripod as I did with the Namhan Samsung hike. This hike was a bit more rigorous, but personally, I don't think it was too bad in my opinion. To relax a bit on the hikes, this place is a bit more relaxing, so don't worry too much. It's a cafe in Hongdae, and funny story, I kind of found it on accident. I just wanted to get some bingsu, which is an ice cream-like kind of dessert in South Korea. It's kind of similar to kakigori if you had that in Japan, but I love bingsu. So I wanted some, and I found this random area in Hongdae when I was walking around taking photos. So I stopped by to relax for a bit, and I ended up realizing that they had a top deck for customers to relax and chill. So of course I wanted to check it out, so I went up there, and the view on top was amazing. And I ended up capturing some photos I really liked. I brought my 24-70 zoom, which if you didn't realize it by now, is a lens that I had on my camera for a lot during this South Korea trip. I love the views of this long road in Hongdae with all the trees surrounding it and seeing all the people and cars just going on with their day. To get to this cafe, just get off at the Hongik University station and follow the road down. The Golden Creamer will be on your right across the Innisfree cosmetic store. The last location is the Banpo Hangang Park. The Banpo Hangang Park is one of the many parks alongside the Han River. I absolutely love riding my bike alongside the Han River and stopping by various points, just enjoying the views and whatnot. But that would make this video way longer than it should be. So I'll save you from all that. If you're interested in that though, I could definitely make another video. Just let me know in the comments. Anyways, I wanted to talk about the Banpo Park the most out of the other parks alongside the Han River, as I feel this is probably the park most people would be most curious about and be able to enjoy the most compared to the other parks, Photographer or not, there are a couple of reasons why. The first reason being the Banpo Rainbow Fountain Show. It's a beautiful water show that happens on the right side of the bridge. It plays there every day from April to October. Though during bad weather such as heavy rain or very windy days, the show will get canceled, so be careful about that. The second reason is the man-made islands on the left side of the bridge. You can enjoy the cafes and restaurants on there, or just walk around and enjoy the views of the river. The third reason is the views of the Namsan Tower you can get from this area. You can definitely get some pretty cool compositions from here. Also with that, it makes this place a really nice location to just relax and chill with the Namsan Tower in view and the sound of the water right there. Getting here is pretty easy as well. There's no train station nearby, so I usually just get off at the express bus terminal station and walk to Banpo Park, which is around a 20-minute walk or so. Going back to the Han River though, and its many locations you can visit, if you want to visit Banpo Park and ride a bike alongside the river, use the app called Darungi, which is a bike sharing service. It's a bit confusing to use at first, but once you get used to it, it's a very easy way to rent bikes for a really good price. Photography wise, a standard 24-70 zoom is good enough for this area, or two primes, a 24mm and an 85mm. The reason why I say you should at least bring a telephoto lens such as an 85mm are for some of the things that are harder to reach, such as the Namsan Tower or boats in the distance. And the reason why I say to bring something wide like a 24mm lens is to capture the floating islands itself. And if you want to get some long exposures and smoothen the water, make sure you bring a tripod with you. Seoul is such a special place with so many things to offer for travelers and photographers. There are so many great locations for street photography, amazing hikes for landscape photography, and something I didn't even get to mention much in this video, the delicious food. If you haven't been to Seoul, I highly recommend you do. There are so many great views to see, as well as the various things you can experience. I hope this video has helped you with your plans to visit Seoul. And if it has, let me know how your trip was once you come back. I'd love to hear about the experience you had in Seoul. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe. If you would like to see more of these type of videos, let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Later.